Nothing shapes your image more than the glass that captures it. Everything that you're seeing right now was shot on one set of Cinema Prime lenses. A set of lenses that instantly gave me a cinematic quality with a modern sharpness and a twist of character that distinguishes them from anything I've used before. And the lenses that we're talking about today are the DZO Arles Prime cinema lenses. Now push it in towards him. A little bit more. Better. Okay, look up for me, Ian. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely cool. So I've been working on this short film called Last Detective for the last few months, and I recently got a hold of these beautiful set of DZO lenses, and I decided to use them specifically on the title sequence for the film. And the title sequence had such a wide range of creative shots that we wanted to go out and capture. And I thought to myself it would be cool to test out these lenses because there were so many different situations with controlled and uncontrolled lighting. I thought that it would be cool to see how these lenses performed in all these different situations. But before we get into some of the real world tests that I have done, let's first talk about the build quality and the overall specs of this lens set. These lenses are full frame Vista Vision lenses with a t1.4 aperture across the entire set. These lenses also have 16 blade iris, and that 16 blade iris is really important because it keeps bokeh very circular and smooth even when you stop down slightly. And here's a quick example of some of that bokeh in the background while we were filming in the streets of Miami. As you can see, they're very round, very circular, and very clean and crisp. The Arles Primes cover a 46.5mm image circle, which means these lenses cover a full frame and even up to a Vista Vision sensor. Now, if you're someone like me and you're shooting with a Super 35 sensor, the benefit is that you're using the clean center of the glass. So you're not getting that edge softness or vignetting or distortion or even chromatic aberration that you would get from a full frame sensor. So keep that in mind while you guys are reviewing this footage. The other thing to note here is that you're going to get a little bit of a crop in these lenses if you're shooting on a Super 35. Overall, the parts, the materials, everything about this is just a solid lens from top to bottom. And you can tell that these lenses are for pros. They are a little bit on the heavier side. I'll get into that in a second, but these lenses all have a 95mm front diameter with an M86 filter thread and a 0.8 mod gears. Now the iris gear positions match perfectly across the entire set. So swapping your lenses out of a matte box or your focus motor is going to be seamless. These lenses are definitely on the heavier side. Like I said before, each one of these lenses comes in at about 3 to 4 pounds. And something like that I would definitely recommend for a real cinema camera build. Now in terms of focus and iris rotation, out of all the lenses I have ever used, this has a pretty long focus, and I can see how somebody could easily debate whether or not the focus throw is too long. However, I think for focus pullers, it's really nice because it gives you a smooth, long enough transition to nail focus. And just to share with you guys the actual specs of the focus throw, it's a 270-degree focus throw and an iris throw of 77 to 80 degrees. Now let's quickly talk about the look of these lenses. What's really interesting and unique about these lenses is that they kind of give you the best of both worlds. They give you a sort of sharpness and clinical look, especially when you're on a Super 35mm sensor, but they also have a nice sort of painterly-like quality and character to them. Now, unfortunately, I'm using a camera, like I said, a Super 35mm sensor, so I'm not really getting the full effect of the Arles Primes. From what I have seen, I've seen something that is very clean, very sharp, very modern looking. However, I'm not mad at the look that I'm getting at all. I look at these images that this lens produces, and honestly, I'm very impressed by them. Taking a look at some of this car footage that we shot in Miami, this is a completely uncontrolled environment with a bunch of different street lights and various lighting situations, and I'm capturing these images and I am loving images that are coming out of these lenses. To me, there's something sort of vintage and nostalgic about the look that we were able to capture on these lenses, but there's still a sharpness to the images that doesn't feel like it's so vintage or sort of cheap in a way. Now, the Blackmagic URSA is not very good at low light, so the fact that we were able to pull the aperture all the way down to t1.4 and still get a sharp image, allowing us to let a ton of light into the lens, was something that was very useful in these uncontrolled lighting situations, and something that I'm not really used to. Typically, when you pull a lens all the way down to its lowest aperture, they are very hard to focus, but this lens was still very easy to nail focus. Right here, as I'm racking focus from the background to the foreground of my character driving, you can see an example of the focus breathing and racking focus back and forth. And to me, there's something really nice about the focus breathing. I think it feels really natural. One thing that I noticed right away about these lenses that kind of, for me, set them apart is how they captured different skin tones at different apertures. We were shooting this at about an aperture T2.0, and while it gave us a nice sharp look, it also made the skin and the face just look very flattering. There is literally no background, no distraction, nothing to really look at other than, you know, the head of this character. And in this shot right here, I really feel like this captured something that looked almost like a portrait or an oil painting or something, which was creatively exactly what I was going for when I was thinking about this shot. The background separation to me in these lenses feels very organic. Not swirly and vintage, but not sterile either, just kind of smooth and dimensional, like you're watching the natural world around you. Now, these lenses use a multi-layered nano coating design, and you don't get those out-of-control crazy flares that you would see in anamorphic or other spherical glass. They're a little bit more restrained and a little bit more refined. So if you're looking for something a little bit more on the cleaner side in terms of flares and highlights, this is what this lens gives you. After using this whole set, here's my personal unfiltered opinion. What I love about these lenses is that they are extremely reliable. Every single one of these lenses, in terms of matching color, build quality, and getting a sharp, clean image at almost any aperture, is pretty crazy, because even at the lowest aperture of T1.4 makes me feel like I can really rely on these lenses. Now, from my real world test, these lenses to me don't show a ton of character, as I usually gravitate towards, like I said, more anamorphic, more character driven lenses. That being said, I think there's sort of like a painter like, you know, artistic kind of look that you get out of these lenses, especially when you're talking about skin tones and capturing the face. I really felt like the close-ups of all of our actors were really where these lenses shined. I also love the overall contrast and colors that these lenses produced. Looking at this footage that I shot in Miami, it's so raw and nice to see an image like this reproduced through this lens. Now, really quick, I want to go over the cost and who I believe these lenses are for. Every lens in this DZO Arles Prime set is priced at around $1,800 to $2,300 per lens, and if you're looking at a 5-lens kit, it's going to cost you around $8,000. Now, I think that these lenses are more for serious filmmakers who are looking to build a full frame or maybe even a super 35mm cinema rig, because that price point alone I think separates it from entry level or hobbyists. I spent some time looking through some forums online, and the one thing that I kept seeing a lot of cinematographers say was that these lenses reminded them of the RE Signature Prime series and even the Cooke S4 Primes. Trust me when I tell you guys, you're not getting a 5 times better lens when you go out and you buy something like these Cooke lenses. To me, when I am looking at this image quality of these lenses at $2,000, I think these lenses punch way above their weight. With all that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for stopping in and hanging out. If you guys have any questions about these lenses or my camera gear, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next week. Deuces.